Hello, my name's Edwina Archer and I'm the funding lead for Active Derbyshire and Active Notts, and this is a presentation about Landfill Communities Funding. For this presentation, we'll have a look at what Landfill Communities Funding is, and we'll also have a look at the fund's different objects. So this is basically the sort of projects that can be supported through the funding. We'll also have a look at the different landfill operators covering Nottinghamshire and or Derbyshire, and also how you can check where they operate. Now this is really important because the funding is only available in certain catchment areas within a certain distance of the different landfill operators. So as a consequence of that, it only covers patches of Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire. And finally, we'll have a look at what the third-party contribution is. Landfill operators are able to redirect a small percentage of their landfill tax liability to support a wide range of environmental and community projects close to their landfill sites. Check the guidance specific for the fund, as this distance will vary. So some will require the site to be very close, while others will have a catchment as wide as 10 miles. The most common way to receive this funding is through approaching an environmental body who distributes the funding on behalf of one or more of the landfill operators. So this is basically the funding organisation that you would be applying to. The Landfill Communities Fund grants can be used for a wide range of projects which meet the objectives of the fund. Check the guidance specific to the landfill operator, so make sure that you do read the guidance for the landfill fund that you're interested in. The different funders fund different organisations, so some won't fund local authorities but others will. But most will fund a wide range of not-for-profit organisations. However, all the landfill operators are unable to fund projects on school grounds. We'll have a look at the fund's different objects. So this is basically the sort of projects that can be supported by this funding. So probably the most relevant object to sport and physical activity is the public amenity object, which is object D. So projects under this object must provide, maintain or improve a public amenity. So this could include things like a sporting facility or a park, bridleways, play areas, community hall, activity centre or cycle path. However, some projects may also link to the biodiversity and nature conservation project, which is about conserving or promoting biological diversity. Or projects could link to the heritage object, which is object E, which is for projects which are to maintain, repair or restore a religious building or buildings of historical or architectural interest. And the latter of these can include war memorials and monuments. These are the different landfill operators that cover either both Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire or just Derbyshire. Now, they don't cover the whole of these counties, so you will have to check their postcode checker to tell whether you're within an eligible area for their funding, and we'll have a look at that on the next slide. So it's very specific areas within these counties that these funds will cover. So we've got in Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire opportunities under the Tarmac Landfill Communities Fund. There's BIFA Award, there's FCC Community Action Fund, which was previously known as WREN. There's Viola Environmental Trust, there's Viridor Credits in Derbyshire and Suez Community Trust in Derbyshire. Probably the best way to check whether your project is within the catchment area of a landfill operator and possibly eligible for landfill communities funding is to check the postcode checkers of the relevant landfill community funders. So each of the landfill community funders has a postcode checker on their website relevant to their landfill operations and will therefore show the catchment areas covered by their funding. The only landfill operator within Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire that doesn't have this postcode checker arrangement is Tarmac. So if you're interested in Tarmac funding, it's overseen by an organisation called Derbyshire Environmental Trust. So if you Google Derbyshire Environmental Trust, it should take you through to a web page on Derbyshire County Council's website, which provides details about the funding and how to contact the manager of the Tarmac funding. But otherwise, the other landfill community funders has a postcode checker on their website relevant to their funding. We've tried to make this as easy as possible on the Active Notts and Active Derbyshire websites. So there is a dedicated web page on both sites relating to landfill communities funding. If you scroll down to the bottom of that page on landfill communities funding, you'll find the links to all the postcode checkers detailed there. So click through and it will take you through to the landfill operators postcode checkers. So it should provide you with an easy, quick way of getting through and checking quickly whether your project is within the catchment area for this funding. It's important to note that if you're successful in securing funding for your project through Landfill Communities Funding, that there is a strong possibility that you will be required to make a third-party contribution. So this is basically from an organisation not linked to the landfill operator or the provider of the funding. So basically, when a landfill operator contributes to this funding program, they can only claim tax relief on 90% of the contribution they make. So that then leaves them with a 10% funding shortfall. So in most cases, but not all, so it's a matter of checking out the specific guidance for the fund that you're interested in. They will ask a third party to make the contribution of 10% or a proportion of it. But if you read the guidance for the fund that you're specifically interested in, there should be more information about that third party contribution. So it's in some respects it's about paying 10% back to the landfill operator, for which you'll receive a grant back. But so you're not, so basically bear that in mind, that you will need to pay that out to be able to receive the grant back into your project. Thank you for listening. I hope you found that useful. We've uploaded other funding presentations to the Active Notts and Active Derbyshire websites. So for example, we've uploaded funding presentations regarding Sport England's funding opportunities. We also do a regular funding e-newsletter, which we aim to send out on a monthly basis. It's free to subscribe. If you're interested in subscribing to it, either go to the homepage of the Active Notts or the Active Derbyshire website and scroll about 3/4 of the way down to complete the subscription. We also do a regular funding newsfeed as well on the websites, both the Active Notts and the Active Derbyshire websites, and this is constantly kept up to date with the latest funding information that's relevant for sport and physical activity, so not just for sports clubs but also for organisations that are interested in diversifying their activities to do sport and physical activity.